Well, I don't even need one sentence. It's only one word, and that is safety. Our top priority is the safety of the community. In many circumstances, knowledge is power, but in the case of domestic violence, a victim has knowledge on what steps are available to them. They will take the steps they need to protect themselves and their family.
A lot of times, they feel scared that they would be put in trouble if they're reporting it.
People feel like unless there's a physical punch to the face, then it's not domestic violence. For some people in multicultural communities, there is shame and stigma around reporting domestic violence because a lot of people think that police are the bad guy. The police are working on creating more knowledge and power back into the hands of victims. This woman was made to stand at the bottom of the stairs by her husband because she hadn't done something.
Voice Aajkal, our medium, your message.
Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Detective Chief Inspector ALLYSON FENWICK, the crime manager at Auburn Police Area Command. With the years of frontline and leadership experience, she has been at the forefront of tackling some of our community's most challenging issues. And one of the most urgent among them is domestic violence. In this conversation, we will cut through the myths, explore the realities, and hear directly from someone who works every day to protect victims, support families, and hold offenders accountable. Let's dive in. Detective Chief Inspector ALLYSON FENWICK from the Auburn Police Station.
Hello,
Welcome
Daphne.
to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Before I start this conversation, I just want to say thank you to Harpreet Kaur Sandhu Oberoi, who got us the chance to have a chat with you.
Yes, it was at a domestic violence forum, reached out, and I was just so happy for the opportunity to come on and talk more about this very important issue.
Wonderful. So in one sentence, what is the police top priority when responding to the domestic violence cases?
Well, I don't even need one sentence. It's only one word, and that is safety. Our top priority is the safety of the community, whether that be behind closed doors or on the streets. And unfortunately, on average, every week in Australia, one woman is killed because of domestic homicide. So whatever we can do to try and prevent that is our top priority.
One woman a week.
Correct.
Being killed is very, very sad. What's that one misconception about the domestic violence that is there in the community?
Oh, it's difficult to just say one misconception because I think there are many, but probably one of the common misconceptions are the form that it takes. That violence is not always physical. It can be emotional. It can be sexual. It can be financial. There are just many forms that it can take. And I think sometimes people feel like unless there's a physical punch to the face, then it's not domestic violence.
Okay.
But you can be intimidated, you can be assaulted, you can even be coercively controlled. And that is the new law that exists in this state. It is an offence to coercively control someone.
There must be many, many challenges that the officer face in these sort of cases. What is the biggest challenge?
By far, the biggest challenge is us not knowing what's happening. So the underreporting of the crime itself is an obstacle for us because if we don't know about it, we can't do anything to protect people. And we spend 60% of our time investigating domestic violence incidents, which is far too much, but it's not enough. If there's more we can do to respond to incidents like this, we want the opportunity to do it so that we can make a difference to our community.
Talking about the early signs, what is that early warning signs that people normally miss?
I think when I touched on the different forms that domestic violence takes, that that can be things that occur in a family, in a household where people are not seeing a crime occurring, but there's behaviour that's troubling. They can be signs, early warning signs that we're missing. And we've recently had this power and control wheel created. It talks about it's a little wheel that was created after by Small Steps for Hannah, which was in relation to the death of a mother and her children up in Queensland. But it really identified using coercion or threats. So there was one example where this woman was made to stand at the bottom of the stairs by her husband because she hadn't done something, correctly. Or there was an acting inspector from the Queensland Police who her mother was made to stand in the driveway and wait for him to come home and greet him when he got home. Those are acts of power and control, and they can lead to the most heinous of crimes, including domestic homicide. And unfortunately, it's 1 woman per week in Australia is killed because of domestic violence.
You're saying 1 woman per week in Australia?
On average, every week, 1 woman is killed. Yeah.
What's the safest first step that one can take?
So I think the first step for someone who is a victim of domestic abuse, they need to find someone that they trust, that they can talk to. And that could be their GP, it could be a trusted friend, it could be someone in the pharmacy, or it could be a police officer. They just have to decide who they trust that they can talk to about their situation. And from there, I think if it's not criminal, there's a way to link people into support services that exist. And trying to prevent things escalating into violence is the best way to tackle a problem. But that requires the people who feel like they're suffering to be given the knowledge and information to do something about it.
Ellie, most of the incidents that are they reported by the victims themselves, or it is somebody else?
I don't have the data on exactly how many are reported from each channel. I would say the most common incidents that I deal with are people in crisis when intervention is required, and that means someone has called 000, their safety is threatened, and they're calling for police. But it's not the only way that we become involved. As you know, there are obligations for people to make mandatory reports when children are involved. There is sometimes neighbours and friends that might hear of violence occurring in their neighbourhood. Sometimes we hear about those reports. Sometimes a victim finally works up the courage to walk into a police station and talk to an officer and say, this is the terrible things that are happening to me and I need help. So the ways we respond are not just via 000. That's certainly the first way that you call for help when you have immediate danger is via 000. But there's also anonymous reports through Crime Stoppers that filter into us to action. And then there are also those other mandatory reports from other agencies that cause us to action them.
How quickly can police act once these reports are made?
Very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We act immediately when we hear a report of domestic violence. We attend, we try and discover by talking to all parties what's happened, we investigate, and we try and determine what's occurred and what the appropriate next step is. It's not so much about how quickly we respond or we attend. I think sometimes the confusion can occur with how quickly we can speak to all parties. For example, if something's occurred and the perpetrator has run off or jumped in a car or gone away, it may not be right away that we get to speak to him to work out, or them to work out what the circumstances are. So does that make sense?
Yes. One thing that friends or neighbors can do to help without putting themselves in any of the danger.
Look, if there is any immediate danger that is heard or witnessed by friends or neighbours, the best thing they can do is to call 000. They don't have to intervene. They just need to ring 000 and explain what's happening, and police will come and attend with that. That's the safest way for them to deal with it. But there is also an opportunity for them to call Crime Stoppers and make a report of something that might not be occurring immediately, but that they want to report what has happened, so that police become involved and try and do something about it.
So what you're saying is they can call the emergency number 000.
Yes.
And the Crime Stoppers, which is 1-800-333-000.
Correct.
Ellie, if I have to talk about the most powerful prevention tool, what would that be?
I don't think there's one tool.
Okay.
I think if there was one concept that's powerful, it's knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge is power. In many circumstances, knowledge is power. But in the case of domestic violence, when a victim has knowledge on what steps are available to them and it's within their control to do something about it, they will take the steps they need to protect themselves and their family. If a friend or neighbour has the knowledge on how to refer support services to someone, then that will also be a powerful preventative tool. And the police are working on creating more knowledge and power back into the hands of victims. So I think it would just be getting more knowledge to them on how they can get through it.
You know, you as a Detective Chief Inspector, ALLYSON FENWICK, if you have to make one change in the law or policy to protect the victims, what would that be?
Well, I firmly believe that New South Wales is doing an amazing job at law and policy and always proposing amendments and updates that are in the interests of community safety. So I don't think there's one policy change. However, if I would suggest something that might be an opportunity for New South Wales Police is to keep working closer with the stakeholders and the community representatives and social services, because a lot of people think that police are the bad guy. We're there to intervene and lock up the bad guy, but that's not the case. We want to do more for victims than we are often able to. And when there's been a crisis situation, I wish I could leave the police for their entire shift to sit there and help victims of domestic violence and help them navigate those next steps. But we need to link in the social services to do that work, to allow police to move on to that next call for help, that next emergency, that next traffic crash, that next domestic violence. So I'd love more time to sit with victims, but maybe something in the future. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the Women's Domestic Violence Court Advocacy Service, they have a co-location project where police are located with the CAS workers in the police station. And it means if someone's walked in and they've decided now's the time to report what's happening to them, the support services are already in the police station, ready to come out and wrap that support around the victim. In mental health situations, we can sometimes call police and ambulance clinicians to come to a scene and address a mental health assessment there and then on the scene. Imagine if we could take social workers with us to the scene of a domestic violence and link them immediately with victims and allow them to support that family and that victim while police then move on and attend to the next call for help. I think that would be a wonderful enhancement of what we're trying to do to prevent this type of abuse, but also link people into the support they need.
We would be displaying the Crime Stoppers number on the screen as well.
Yes.
But I would love you to be giving that number out as well.
Definitely. That number to call Crime Stoppers if you do want to report someone who might be having some abuse or violence is 1-800-333-000.
1-800-333-000.
Correct.
The most common myth about AVOs and the protection orders.
Look, AVOs, I think, are very confusing. An apprehended domestic violence order, especially for people who English might not be their first language, it can be confusing. They're essentially a tool where we're trying to influence people's behaviour and provide education to people who may not have realised that in this country certain acts are a crime. So I think one of the myths is having an AVO is a criminal offence. It's actually not a crime if someone has an AVO on them. What is a crime is if you breach that AVO.
Okay.
So if a magistrate, a judge at a court has said this is required to protect this person, that's not a crime. But if part of that protection order is that you are not to assault, threaten, harass, and then something happens and you assault, threaten, or harass the protected person, that's when the offence occurs.
Right. You know, on the whole, Australian police and especially NSW police is doing such a wonderful job. But if I have to talk about one recent initiative by Auburn police that you feel proud of.
That is, without a doubt, the Empower You Community Reach project. One of my wonderful multicultural liaison officers who are very passionate about domestic violence came up with this idea to create a bilingual sign in our community and put the QR code for the Empower You app.
Okay.
And this app allows victims to be connected to resources that are relevant in their community, to their local area. It gives them a diary where they can just journal and make notes of what they're experiencing while they build up the confidence to take the next step. It has all those numbers that we need them to have at hand, the Crime Stoppers report, the 000 numbers, the local police station numbers. And the initiative came about because for some people in multicultural communities, there is shame and stigma around reporting domestic violence. And we wanted to find a way to empower victims and empower communities to support victims of domestic violence. And Moon Lu, who came up with the idea, used a very simple methodology and a way to have the name of the community group, the QR code to get to the app, and it's in 2 languages, and it's just very simple and wonderful, and it's all over the streets of Auburn. And there is just so many amazing stories of shop owners who know victims of domestic violence are walking around the community not sure what to do, and they don't know how to support them. So now they can just say, hey, we've got this sign on our wall here. If you're struggling, if you're in pain, if you need some help, you can download this app on your phone, and it's in different languages, so they can actually get the knowledge, which gives them the power back.
Finally, what would be your message for that one person who is feeling unsafe at the moment?
I would just say to you that you're not alone. There are other people who are probably going through similar things to what you're feeling, and you have to find someone you trust that you can reach out to and talk to. If it is hard for you to build up the courage to walk into the police station, definitely speak to your GP, definitely speak to your religious or community groups, and look out for those signs in the community that will link you into that app so you can get the knowledge that you need to get back control of your life.
Domestic violence is an issue that affects people from all walks of life. And your work reminds us that prevention, protection, and community awareness are all vital parts of the solution. For everyone listening who feels unsafe at home, please remember you are not alone and help is available. Reach out to the police, call 1800 RESPECT, or speak to a trusted person. Your safety matters, and there are people ready to support you. Thank you so much for the insights.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
My name is Navneet and I'm signing out for Voice Aajkal, our medium, your message. Bye for now. Thank you once again.
VT Times. Be with the times.